Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be doing a carding tutorial. It's been some time since we did a card. So as always with all my videos, whatever products I'm using or talking about will be linked in the description of the video. So you can check the same or you can check the blog post also for the same linked below. So today I thought let's do some Rakhi cards since Rakhi is just around the corner. And this time I wanted to do a slimline card because I realize I do very less of those. So I'm using one of the slimline notelets by Craft Angles. And what I'm doing is I decided to make my own background using some embossing powder. So I'm using this Happy Raksha Bandhan stamp set and I have selected this Rakhi shaped stamp and I'm kind of stamping it around the whole card base to kind of create a pattern. Now, before I do embossing, I'm just prepping my base with some powder tool. And you could, honestly use some powder and just rub it on top of the paper and then apply and then do embossing and, add embossing powder. For embossing ink, my favorite was fine. Versamark ink, and for the powder I'm using Ranger Gold embossing powder, and you can see how I have kind of created the design. And once I have kind of done with the stamping and embossing, I'll take out my heat tool and use it to melt the embossing powder, and that is what will give it the gold shine. Now I've tried and kept each and every step that I do to make this card. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than my usual one, but here I have tried to show everything from embossing to die cutting to actually making shaker, etc. So in case the photo in the start did not give you an idea, today we are making a Rakhi shaker card. And once I'm done with, the embossing that I'm showing you here, I still felt I wanted a little bit of gold. So what I did was I kind of added some gold splatters using some watercolors pan by Craft Angle. Now that our base is prepped, let's move on to the more fun part, which is actually creation of the shaker. So for that, I'm using classic smooth white cardstock, and then I'm using this die which I showed you. So this is one of the crafted dies. And then what I have done is I have kind of created a base which is slightly larger than the slimline card base. And then I have cut it out the rectangle out of it. So using that rectangle slimline die, so I'll get a rectangle frame as well as the inside. We are not going to use inside in today's card. We're just going to use the frame. And here you saw how I did my die cutting. Since my die cutting machine that I use normally in my video is slightly smaller than the die, I kind of passed it in two parts. So once I did the top part of the die, which cut the first half of the rectangle, and then I kind of flipped it and die cut the remaining half of it. So whenever you have a larger die and a smaller die cutting machine, you could always, use this kind of technique and pass it through twice to cut your die through the die cutting machine. So here you could see that since my frame was slightly larger from one side, I am kind of using a guillotine trimmer to cut out and make it the exact size as my slimline base. And now I'm using Craft Angles transparencies, which will kind of create that barrier for our shaker card. And again, this will be the same size as the rectangle frame that we cut out. So I'm just using that as my marking and then I'm cutting it through my trimmer. Now I'll use some liquid glue to stick this transparency on the top of my frame. So this will kind of create that window look. You could, use any glue of your choice. I personally prefer this kind of liquid glue because that gives me some wiggle room to move the, transparency here and there in case it did not get stuck properly. So once this is dry, I move on to adding the foam tape on the top. So here you can see I'm using a thin foam which has a thickness similar to my frame, and this will add dimension for our shaker. Okay, and this will also help us stick this entire shaker window on top of the card base that we are creating. So that is why I'm using this foam tape. Again, I prefer using this blue foam tape as compared to others because this has really good adhesion quality. So now that our shaker frame is ready, it is time to get all the beautiful shaker elements that you are adding. So here you can see the names and codes of all the shaker elements that I'm going to use. These are all by Craft Angles. Since my idea was to create a gold elements, I wanted to use the shaker elements also of the same color range. So you can see I've selected a lot of whites, golds, and a little bit of yellows and browns for some pop. So you will see me using all five of those shaker beads. And so one is a combination which has like seed beads and you know like pipe beads and all those things. So it's like a combination of different shades of yellows. And then I have some golden sequins which I am adding, and then I have the others which are white seed beads and some white sequins. That is just because I felt there was a lot of yellow and gold in the other two combination, and I kind of wanted to tone it down with a little bit of white. So that is why I'm adding white. But you could experiment here, and you could honestly go with any color combination of your choice. Since I was sticking to gold, I wanted to use only golds and yellows in this card. I will be linking down the category of seed beads and shakers for you all. However, for the specific product, you can just read the names that I have mentioned here and search the same, and you'll find those specific shaker elements if you want to, replicate the same look. Now here you can see I am kind of applying. So I have only removed part of the tape from all the four side, and what this does is it helps me put the window in the position that I want. And once it is done, I'm simply going to pull that white part of the foam tape and using my hand put the pressure so that it sticks properly. Now this is a neat trick whenever you have very long shaker windows and you don't want to put everything in one go because you may want to adjust it. So that completes our shaker part. And now, since my shaker is done, if I feel that in certain areas the frame is a bit wider as compared to other areas, you could always cut it off, like how I did right now. And then what we are going to do is we are going to start decorating the top part of it. So for the top, here are the products that I'm using, which is classic smooth white cardstock, our gold mirror cardstock, and some vellum. So as I said, I wanted to kind of stick to golds and yellows and white in this particular case. So that is why, I have selected these colors. Now here are the die cuts that I have already cut and kept them ready. So you can see what I have done is I have kind of stacked multiple dies one on top of other to kind of create that thicker dimension that I just showed you for the two die cuts. For the dies, I have used the new launch by Craft Angles. These are two new Rakhi dies. One is called Happy Rakhi and the other is called Happy Raksha Bandhan. I'll link down both the dies for you all below so that if you are interested, you could definitely check them out. So the base part I have die cut out of a vellum piece. So it will just kind of add that translucent layer and it will kind of break down the background busy design. And then on top of it, I have added this dimensional piece which I have die cut using multiple white die cuts, which I've stuck one on top of the each other. And then on the top, I have added this gold die cut piece. So this will kind of create the base for my Rakhi. And then I have done the exact same thing with Raksha Bandhan, where I have die cut quite a few pieces with white, and then I have stick one on top of the other to create the dimension. And then I have added that gold die cut piece on top of it. So the exact same process which I just spoke about, I am doing that with Happy Die. So you can see how I create my stackable die cuts. Trust me guys, it may not seem a lot here in video. You may feel, it doesn't add a lot of depth, but when you actually see the card in your hand, this dimension adds a lot of impact on your project, and it looks really interesting and beautiful, and it adds a lot of texture. So now that all my die cuts are ready, I am ready to stick them on top of my shaker card. So what I'm doing is on the left side, I have decided to kind of create the Rakhi, and on the right side, I'm going to write Happy Raksha Bandhan. And this will complete my shaker for today. I really enjoyed. Normally, shaker is are not something that I make for festive one, but this one turned out really pretty and fun, and especially perfect for kids. Kind of cards. So this could go perfectly with the kids Rakhi that you make. And I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I leave you with some of the pictures that I took of the project. And I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial and it gave you some ideas on how you can use these products in different ways. I will see you soon with some more Rakhi cards. Till then, guys, take care. Bye bye.